Today, we are going to tell you about Colonel Sanders' success story, and how it became world's biggest brand, we all know as Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. In 1890, Harlan Sanders was born in Henryville, Indiana. When Sanders was 6 years old, his father died. While her mother was out to work, Sanders took care of his two siblings, and cooked food for them as well. By age 7, he was already a good cook. At the age of 12, his mom remarried and his stepfather didn't like the idea of having stepchildren. So, after a year, he left home and he started to work on a farm. Every day, he fed the animals in the morning, went to school, and did odd jobs in the evening. Sanders realized he didn't want to go to school and, instead wanted to work all day. So, he dropped out in the 7th grade. He spent his time with the Army and in Cuba and half-life of his time with several jobs. These included things like selling insurance, tires, even working as an operating a ferry boat and making lighting systems. In 1930, he got a job to run a gas station in Corbin, Kentucky, where he served fried chicken and other really good southern dishes to travelers. The location's food became increasingly popular, until he decided to get rid of their gas station and turn it into a full-fledged restaurant. First breakthrough in 1930, when he found that frying his chicken and its signature 11 herbs and spices in a new device, a pressure cooker, different from the ones used today, resulted in the ideal consistency he had been looking for. At that time, Sanders' restaurant was successful for over a decade. In 1950, the governor of Kentucky named him, as a colonel, the highest title of honor the state can give. In 1952, Colonel Sanders made a deal with his friend Pete Harmon to sell his chicken dish as Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Colonel would get 4 cents royalty for every piece of chicken sold. After it became a top-selling item, Sanders made the same deal with several other local restaurants. Things were going great, but when a new interstate bypassed Sanders' restaurant, it spelled doom in 1955. In 1956, he sold the location at a loss, and had to live on a $105 Social Security check as his only monthly income. Sanders then decided that he was not going to settle for a quiet retirement. After he closed his restaurant, the Colonel decided to focus more on the franchising recipe, under the name Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. He and his wife packed a couple pressure cookers, flour, and spice blends into the car to hit the road all across America. Whenever they found a restaurant, he would offer to make them some of his famous chicken in exchange for anything they liked. Sanders soon had more than 600 franchised KFCs, across the US and Canada, and didn't even have to advertise. His model was so successful, that he was fielding requests without even having to do the legwork. In 1963, people were starting to respond positively to KFC, for franchise requests, and had more than 600 restaurants, across the US and Canada. That October, he was approached by John E. Brown Jr., an aggressive young lawyer and a venture capitalist named Jack C. Massey, who wanted to buy the franchise rights. After a lot of negotiation, they finally persuaded Sanders agreed to sell his rights for $2 million in January 1965, and the deal went through in March. Under the contract, Kentucky Fried Chicken would set up its own restaurants around the world and would not compromise the chicken recipe. Sanders was to have a salary starting from $40,000 and later up to $75,000 as a board seat, majority ownership of KFC's Canadian franchises, and would serve as the company's brand ambassador. Even though he was not keen to let go of his company at 75 years, he decided that it would be best to see his company continue to grow beyond his capacity. By 1970, the number of outlets increased to 3,048 different countries. In 1971, Johnny Brown sold KFC to Hubline, a food packaging and drinks company, for $285 million. Harlan Sanders died in 1980. Around the time of his death, there were 6,000 outlets of KFC in 48 different countries. Nowadays, KFC has 22,600 branches in 135 countries around the world. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel.